So I'm joined by Paul. Paul, I've been watching with admiration from afar. We've actually been connected on LinkedIn since 2013. We've never actually met, but we have somebody in common, which is my fantastic colleague, Simon. And Simon and Paul know themselves, I think, personally. Is it, Paul? Do you know each other personally?
Yeah, we've known each other personally for some years.
Yeah. So Paul and I have never actually met, but I've been watching him and the type of content he's been creating. And I mean this in the nicest way. And Paul and I were just having a chat before we hit the record button, that he really brings to life what he does on social media in what would often be classed as quite as a dull subject. And that's why I really wanted to chat to him today, because he works in commercial vehicles, and he works in commercial vehicles and sales and leasing. So people often think, wow, that must be a really hard slog when it comes to content and engaging with people on social media. Well, not if your name is Paul Kirby, and that's why I've asked him on today. So first of all, thank you so much for joining me today, Paul. It's fantastic to have you on and taking some of your precious time, but I'm really excited to sort of get under the bonnet, no pun intended, and chat to you about how you've got to where you are today in terms of your digital marketing journey, if that's okay.
It'll be a pleasure. I'm glad to make something that is so boring come to life.
Well, I mean, it's not that it's boring for me. You're obviously very passionate about it, but for some people, if you think, okay, your job is to do digital marketing on that subject, could come across as, oh my goodness, that's quite a hard job. But you totally buck that trend and bat it out of the park and show people otherwise. So what I would like to start with, if that's okay, is how did your digital marketing journey start? Like, where did it start in terms of, I'm going to give social media a go because I think it might help me or help my career or the company that I work for. Where did it all start?
I think when social media happened, I ignored it at first, for like probably so many of us. And I don't think I even signed up on Facebook until something like 2010, which was like absolutely late to the party. LinkedIn became a thing for me in a job that I had doing some training. In fact, I think where you and I first connected. So I begun to get connected with people purely from I want to sell you something, some training, as it was at the time, and it became a thing, and it just kind of stayed in the background for a number of years until probably, I don't know, maybe 2016, maybe 17, where I started to use it more seriously. So yeah, I guess that was kind of my journey. It began seriously in 2013, just in that process of using it more seriously for business.
And when you started using it more seriously for business around 2016, how did that start? Was it just posting text? Was it jumping straight onto the video? Where did that start, and where did you start to get the appetite and thinking, oh, this could work, and actually I enjoy doing it?
Yeah, so I think it was more that I enjoy doing it was the driver for it. I'm quite a social being, and I enjoy the interaction online in the absence of anything else. So I mean, this has been an interesting period where you're not able to be with people, so actually social media really works. But so I think 2016, I probably just was playing with it again, just the occasional post, and I think it was the CV show of 2017 where I posted my first video, which was and I posted it via YouTube, so obviously things have changed a little bit since then, but I was gobsmacked with the amount of people that looked at what I'd posted via LinkedIn on YouTube. And I remember being at the show and people walking past our stand, because I was a stand representative for the company I was working for at the time, LeasePlan, and people would go, "Oh yeah, I saw you," and have a bit of a giggle, a bit of banter. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. And I interviewed. I copped out for the first few because I was afraid to do it on my own. I needed a foil. So involved people to interview, for somebody from VW, somebody from Modal System, who I know you work with now, and there was one other whom I forget. But provided really good interaction for me, and also it helped me get to know people, I think, and people broke down a barrier that is often in place when people see you and don't know who you are, or they don't have a reason to chat. So if I walk into a room of people think I'm extrovert naturally. I can't stand it if I don't know people or I don't have a reason to be there. So actually giving people a reason to speak to me has actually helped me immensely, just kind of broaden my network. So there's a mixture of me just being very human and kind of almost needing that interaction and valuing that for the benefits that it gives me just as a human being, but also in terms of personal brand and then business, it helps draw people to you and the business you work for.
And I think for those of you, do go and take a look at Paul's videos. They're predominantly on LinkedIn, because you can see that straight away. I was reminding myself this morning before we had the call, so I was like, bang up to date. I've been watching you anyway, but you can see that you love doing it. You just like blossom, and you're smiling and you're chatting and you're very on it. So you did a poll on Twitter about the car that actually I don't like. What one is it? It's the one that you do like. 75% of people don't like it.
It's the Soul EV. It's great from the front, rubbish from the back, but a fabulous vehicle.
You've done a Twitter poll and you were mentioning people, so you're very good on camera, and it's interesting because when I talk to people about being on camera, they're like, oh no, I can't be on camera, I'm very nervous about it. And I don't like being on camera. I hate having my picture taken. So I'm the opposite to you. I'm quite happy. My husband jokes that I'm some sort of hermit. I'd be quite happy on my own, and I would. But my job is very much helping businesses in digital marketing. So I have to come to life, and I do love doing it. I love chatting to companies like yourself and other people, and I love helping people, but it's not my natural state, where your natural state is very bubbly and you love interacting with people. So I think that does come across, and obviously it has a huge advantage in terms of let's go on to video. The CV show that you talked about, for those of you that don't work in the commercial vehicle industry, it's the commercial vehicle show, and it's the biggest one in...
Sorry, thank you.
That's okay. It's the biggest one in Europe that happens once a year, twice a year, does it?
It happens once a year, around April, May. Obviously this year was cancelled, but yes, it does.
Yeah, so it's a place where for everyone in the industry, you definitely go there. And I think the other tip that you've given people, if people don't feel comfortable, is get other people involved. Like, oh, can I have a chat to you about this? Because people often say, oh, I've got this screen looking at me, what should I say? Where you're very confident, when you're doing reviews on vans and things, you're very confident about that now. So you've talked about the fact that you love doing it. You've talked about the fact that you are happy to get other people involved because that made you feel more comfortable. And you also touched on the fact that actually when you started to dupe it, people liked it. So they started to interact with you in a traditional sense as well, which is fantastic. But how have you curated your content as your personal brand? Because I can see you've done fantastically well in your career since we first connected. And how has that helped the brand as well? So almost two questions. How have you created your own personal brand, and how have you curated that content, and how has that helped the businesses that you work for as well?
Do you know, I wish I could sort of turn the camera around and give you a lovely laid out plan for it all, because I kind of feel I've probably gone quite against what most people would suggest in this, and I've gone with my gut. I'd love to say it was a plan. I'd love to say it was all nicely laid out, but I kind of recognized it was happening, and then have begun to kind of build something around that. So I'm still not like, I don't have a routine of planning things. I respond to the market. I respond to what's going on. I accept invitations from people, all of those kinds of things, because I think my word for the year, and back in my New Year's Day post, which I'm starting a tradition of just doing it on a beach somewhere, wherever it might be, was to collaborate. That was my word, the collaboration. And so whenever you get the opportunity to collaborate, even like this, it feels like, a synergy, coming together of two individuals, the sum is greater than the parts, and that for me is something that I've really enjoyed about social media, is that by connecting with others, you definitely grow your personal brand, and also you grow awareness around the company that you work for. And I think, from a corporate perspective, it is really good to have a strategy in place. So from a business sense, so the personal brand, I think you can be very responsive and very interactive with other people. But from a business sense, I think it's good to have a plan, because if you've got multiple personalities, and I'm now in a company where I've got some amazing personalities. My CEO, Andy Alderson, is, makes me feel inadequate, which is great, because it means that I've got a bar to go to from his responses and the engagement that he gets online, and obviously his greater network. So, I can, you've always pushed us, aspire to something better. But if I was to go against him in a corporate sense, or if I was to not be on message, then we would begin to lose our way and would become confused. So I think when you're working as a corporate, you need to be aligned. And I think that was something in my old company that I began to learn. And the people that will tell you, it was a bit of an interesting journey to get me on a rein, if you like, for them. Our marketing team back then was, they would be regularly having conversations with me about where we were going as a brand, and me personally, and how I was going. So it's really important to align your personal brand with the goals and aspirations of the brand that you're working for. So that, again, it's another synergy, isn't it? Making sure that you don't kind of alienate yourself from your own brand, or damage your personal brand by appearing to be off message.
Yes, and I think just talking about the corporate side of things for a little while, that's interesting, because we'll often have companies contact us and say, we've got our digital marketing plan, but none of the people within our team are sharing social media content. They're not doing any video content, they're not doing this, and they're not doing that. And it's not, I always say to them, it's not because they don't want to. First of all, you can't make them. If they're passionate about something, then they will probably naturally do it themselves. Or they might have a passion and desire to do it, but they don't know what you want them to say, and they don't know what the value is. So being aligned with the organization, but saying, you're a very talented person, you've got all these great ideas up here, supporting them and holding them hand in encourage them, because not everyone wants to go on camera. I think camera and going live on social is probably things that, through me asking people, that's the thing they dread the most. They're like, oh my goodness, what if I say the wrong thing and I don't like my face being on camera? We'll start with text, because you can magic some words up through your expertise and share hints and tips, can't you? And then it might be that you never go on camera, or you might have personalities like yourself that love being on camera and love to ad hoc stuff, or some people that very curated, want a lot of control around it. But I think it's an interesting point, because people buy from people at the end of the day. They obviously do buy into a brand, but it's the personalities within a business that people will generally buy into, especially in the B2B space. I is my view.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that completely. And I think, just a coordinated approach just allows for a little bit more wisdom to be involved. So, I mean, I'm in the process of writing my first LinkedIn article, my proper article. Now, it's part of something that I wanted to do, but working for the company I now work for, Panorama, it allowed me to kind of work with some really good creative people. So I was able to kind of put out what I thought, some stuff, and so we're going to have almost like two tones of voice, if you like. You're going to have the company tone of voice, which will be exactly the article, but just a few bits and pieces changed. And then there'll be my personal one. But because we can look at the two things together, side by side, we can recognize that it's okay to be different, as long as the overall message is the same, in a sense. And so it would be really interesting to see, as a complete experiment from my point of view, would an article work? Does it get engagement? And it's topical, actually. Fortunately, there's been a couple of things just recently announced which it'll align to quite nicely, fortuitously. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how we bring those two things together.
And I think coming back to your other point of going, I don't have this, you know, this magical plan, Lindsay. I think personally, you don't necessarily need to. So the content that I do video content and I do live YouTubes and stuff. I don't have a 3-month plan for that either. It can be topical. So it might be, oh my goodness, this is just broken, let's talk about it. Or it can be, you know, something that I've been seeing consistently in terms of feedback, in terms of people really want content marketing hints and tips. Okay, let's do a video on it. I don't have a plan either. And I don't think there's any harm in that. I think the point that you made about actually responding, listening to people and responding to what you think is relevant and adding value is huge. And I can see you do that in your content. I always say to people, engage, inspire or educate. And I think you do all 3 of those things in your content. So I think it's, you know, you deserve a huge round of applause and pat on the back for how you've created your content, listened to the market, and you're now doing like reviews on things. And your McDonald's post, your one about plugging in your car at McDonald's, I looked at, you know, the stats speak for themselves. You've had nearly 3,000 views, 20 comments and 94 likes. And I know they're very like vanity metrics, but clearly you're engaging with your audience, and it's resonating with your target audience, because it is quite a niche area. And in such, that's going to help your personal brand and the business generate more business, would be my guess.
That would be the hope. And it's funny, isn't it? You know, how do you translate? And I don't have the answer to this, because I feel it from my own personal brand, but I couldn't measure it in pound notes necessarily. But you know, how much does social media content contribute to the success of a brand, you know, in a business sense? And certainly, I probably in the last 8 to 10 weeks, I've probably had more sort of requests for help in a way that would then benefit the brand, i.e., you know, a quote, or, you know, can you help us go to electric vehicles? Which electric vehicles should we go to? You know, and there was a great saying, a guy called Zig Ziglar. He's a motivational speaker. I mentioned him in a video just recently. He basically said this: you can get where you want if you help enough people get where they want to go, you know, or words to that effect, you know. And so I was speaking to somebody the other day, and they phoned me as a result of social media, and they were asking me about the Soul EV. Actually, funnily enough, we were talking originally about fridged vehicles and all that sort of stuff, and you know, he said, look, before we go any further, why are we having this conversation? Why do you even want to talk to me? I don't understand. And I said, listen, I believe that if you help enough people get what you want, then you get what you want. And he went, fair enough. And so we had a chat, and at the end of it, he's probably going to be ordering a Soul EV for his wife. You know, so you see the impact of it, but it's difficult to measure. I can measure it in how I feel personally, you know, and some of the opportunities that are coming my way to be involved in influencing, which is where I feel that you know, I've got a tremendous opportunity and responsibility. I guess side by side, you know, if you get some form of notoriety to any extent, you know, how you use that is you know, what says everything you need to say about yourself. I want to be able to look myself in the mirror and think it's not just a vanity metric, although it kind of is, because, you know, my ego needs stroking just like most people's, right? And 94 likes or whatever, actually it's not enough. It needs to be 100. So if 6 people out there could just go to that one, please, that would make me feel a lot better. But it's those things. What's it saying? What are we doing? What are we achieving out of it? So there's the influence that we have, and then there's the business that we generate. But I think today's day, I mean, there was Brewdog are quite big, and if you could ever get Captain James on, I think it would be great. It was a great TEDx, him talking about how he's going to market. But what you see from there is real engagement with people, and they're treating it like a community. And no longer is it okay to just sell stuff. I think you mentioned it earlier about delivering value, and that's what we've got to do: deliver value. And if we deliver value, then we'll become essential to the community that we operate in, and and therefore we'll do better than our peers, one would hope.
Yes, absolutely. And I think with social media, and I've talked about this in a few of my podcasts, and the last one with Andy Bounds as well, he was a B2B case study, and he is a salesperson. So people would think, okay, well, why is he giving away all this value on social media? And you the same, you know, you're extremely helpful and giving people's views, and you're not asking any money in exchange, but absolutely the value is there. So people actually, I like and trust him. I'm going to ring him about what I should be doing, and that will inadvertently help to the Vanarama's bottom line, hopefully, in some shape or form, either directly or indirectly. Or it might get you a speaking gig at a conference, or you don't know, it might get you some PR coverage. If you give away value, then people will buy from you. But people tend to jump on, especially if they work in sales, go, oh, come and buy from us because we've got the best leasing deal. Well, you might or might not have the best leasing deal, but people are not on social media to be sold to, are they? I'm not on there, and I'm sure you're not on there to be sold to. You're on there to engage with your audience, listen, which lots of businesses don't do, and actually then create content that's going to be valuable to them, to then potentially, if they are looking for some help or advice, they think, oh, I'll go to the EV expert, the influencer in EV, as I would call it, from yourself, and contact you, and you happen to work for a company that can potentially help with that. So I think it's hugely influential, and I think you are very humble in what you say in terms of the power actually of what you've developed. And you didn't, you know, you've said, you know, you didn't go out to develop that. You just thought, actually, I have a passion for something, I like being on screen, let's start doing and seeing where it goes. And that's the amazing thing about this. I think if you go with a preconceived thought of, I'm going to generate sales and I'm going to do this and this and this, it's almost like too suffocating sometimes.
I would agree completely. And one of the most cringeworthy messages on anybody's post is, you know, I think somebody was posting about getting back to work and, you know, the environment that people work in, and somebody said, you know, if I can help you sort out your workplace, let us know. You know, what's the point in that comment? Clearly they've done it, and that they're at that point in their journey, and it doesn't feel like a good opportunity unless you know somebody really well, and I get that. But if you did know them well, you'd probably pick up the phone. It doesn't seem like a great way to generate business. But if you are constantly working with a group of people, so I had an email this morning from quite a well-known individual within the industry saying, can you help out this guy who's contacted me with an electric van? And you think, okay, well, yeah, I can help with that. And I've just had a really interesting email from him this morning, and so we'll have an opportunity, whether we do or not, it doesn't matter, but we'll have an opportunity to quote that guy and maybe sell him a vehicle. But that's come out of the influencing and the interacting that I have with the marketplace. But I just wanted to make one comment that I thought back on when we were talking about videoing and being responsive and reactive. I think that there is a downside to it also, because the amount of times that I will look back or look at comments and think, I wish I'd said that. So I think there's definitely a place for a little bit of planning in terms of video content. And I think some of my better videos where I've been really sort of clear on the message. I remember doing one around benefit in kind taxation on vans versus cars, an electric vehicle. So you got a 70 grand, Mercedes it was, EQC parked next to an electric Vito, and you got charged zero tax to run the Mercedes Vito, not the Vito, sorry, the car, the EQC, £70,000 worth, and you got charged £800 a year for the Mercedes Vito van, and it's like, well, hang on, But anyway, so it was. I thought about that, I planned it out, and I sort of made that comment, and it got really good engagement from different people, and obviously you're trying to amplify that noise so that the government hear as well.
Yeah.
And similar to my comments around build and the McDonald's, amplify the noise so that we make some progress. So there's two schools, and I'm generally on the kind of reactive and jump in and all that sort of stuff, but there is definitely a case for planning through a little structure, even if you give yourself a little bit of structure, I think there's some value to that as well.
Yeah, you can have a bit of the both camps, really. I see it, because especially in what's going on at the moment, you don't know what's going to happen on any one given day, do you? But obviously EV vehicles, the government is trying to get us more environmentally friendly, and obviously probably there's more vans on the road than ever before because of lots of people having deliveries and courier companies going through the roof. So it's sort of not helping, isn't it, in terms of business, but sustainability. So I think having a certain amount of planning, my focus this month is going to be sustainability, but on the flip side of that, how can I talk about, I heard Fred talk about this yesterday, a few people are mentioning that, let's ad hoc some content. So that links me on to one of my next questions, actually, if that's okay, Paul, is if people are going to delve into the word of video content, whether that be live content or recorded stuff, what would be if someone hadn't done it before, what would be your hints and tips in terms of thinking about it, doing it, and actually getting it done? Because people are often very nervous about that.
Yeah, sure. Don't do it. I don't need the competition, nor does anybody else already do it. Don't do it. Just stay at home. No, not at all. It's funny though, for somebody that really loves video, when you first see somebody else breaking new into it and they're good, it's almost, oh gosh, really, because you want to be the only one. The ego, right? But more than that, when I see somebody that could really do with an arm around their shoulder and they're trying it for the first time, and it's, I equally want to help them be good, because I think I'd rather feel bad that they're good rather than bad that they're bad. So I think that there's some really good vlog people out there that are sort of teaching about it, and I would definitely, if you're going to do this as part of your business, part of your personal brand, absolutely go and get help to do it. I mean, I've been criticized for using the selfie stick many times, because it's a selfie stick, for goodness sake. It's not professional, but that's not my brand. I'm not, that I know what I'm aiming for, and so sometimes I mix, sometimes I do different things, but I like to keep it. I come back to my selfie stick because it's the personal bit, it's the intimate bit for me, and it's what I'm known for. So you're almost kind of looking for something that you feel comfortable, and also it's like a comfort blanket, isn't it? I'm hiding behind my selfie stick. Nobody can come into my world. Yeah. So I would definitely look at what other people are doing. I would get some hints and tips from some of the people that are putting social content out around how you blog. That's really good advice. I would always tackle your first one with some kind of structure. And I would, make it visually nice. Try and think about what people are looking at. They don't really want your face here and, looking up your nostrils or something. They want to be able to engage with enough of you. Apparently, seeing hands is always a really good thing in communication. We often communicate with our hands all the time. People often speak about it, which is another good reason why I use a selfie stick, because I've only got one left, so it doesn't look quite so animated. So I think what I would encourage people to do is to think about it first of all, to push through the nerves, because they'll go. That 2 or 3 times in, the first few were cringeworthy from an internal feeling. And so standing outside McDonald's with people driving by, you still think, what on earth are they thinking? Because you're on your own, you've got nobody, you're just there doing something which most people would consider weird. But you push through those nerves, because actually, generally, when the nerves are there, it's because something good is about to happen. I know there's a trans side to that, an alternative, but so I don't know if I've made that very clear or not, but hopefully you can pick the bones out of that and get some hints and tips for yourself.
I think just to add to that, the selfie stick's interesting, because I watch your content and I haven't thought, oh God, he's got a selfie stick. The reason I'm watching is because I'm interested in the content, not how amazing it looks. So I totally agree. If you can do it outside with a car, because that's what you sell, the things you're talking about, great. Yeah. But I have never once thought, oh, he's doing it on a selfie stick. It's, I would say, focus on the content that you want to share with people, not the equipment in a way. I think absolutely the equipment needs to be set up correctly. So my laptop is set up here, it's on a wedge of paper, and it's prepped up so it's at the right angle. But it doesn't matter. It's hopefully people are going to be engaged in the content, not worrying about what equipment I'm using to get it there. So I find that very fascinating, first of all. And my tip would be focus on the value of the content. Second to that, people are often worried about, well, what should I say? And if people are nervous about that, I would say either get someone else involved, which you did, and actually had a chat with someone, because that's an easier barrier to think about, isn't it? I don't have to worry about questioning and answering. I can have a chat with somebody. Think about, if you don't have that as an opportunity, then think about the customers you've spoken to in the last week or 2 weeks, or the things that have come up the most in the industry that you work in, and think about what value can I add to that. So you've talked on the build example, and I talked about that earlier, you know, Evie and what Boris is up to. That's content. People want to know what your view is, or hints and tips on it. And I've done that quite a lot in video content or even text content. They'll see an article that I've not created. It might be an article around the small businesses opening, and I would say, okay, well, if I was a small business opening today, this would be what I would do. So it's thinking about the value that you can give to people, because people are very worried about going on screen, because they're thinking, oh, I've got to, and I never watch my videos back. Like, I hate seeing myself on screen as much as everyone else does. But thinking about,
maybe I'm unusual.
I really hate watching myself. Where if you like watch, that's fine. Like, everyone's different. But one tip, and actually Simon and I had this conversation the other day, and I always say to people, I've got my green light looking at me now, and I'm talking to you as if I'm talking to you, Paul. I'm not talking as if I'm thinking, oh my goodness, hundreds or thousands of people are going to watch this. I try and personalize it to think I'm talking to one other person, so then it can come across much like a conversation. And I think you do that extremely well as well. So I think having a look at your video is a really great place for people to go and have a look and see. And it's not easy. Like, it doesn't come naturally to some people. Practice makes perfect. And you've said, go and have a look at vloggers. I always go and have a look at other people, and not because I want to go, oh god, yeah, they started off rubbish, but it's a good measure. If you scroll back to their first one and go, wow, their lighting wasn't very good, and see, people do grow with experience. Even if I look at my own videos, I've had a quick look at some of them and think, oh god, that was my first one, and this is where I am now. I have adapted, because I can see, okay, if I did it this way, this might be a bit better, and this might be a bit better. And I'm very critical. I'll say to people, pull it apart and tell me what I can do better. So
there was a guy the other day, and he's very professional, one of our team at Vanarama, doing the video reviews, and we were talking about, so he looks at the burn down rate on a YouTube video. So this is like the points at which people drop off and lose interest and all that sort of stuff. And we were talking just about one aspect of a particular review, and it was a bit of feedback that I hadn't given him, but he said, look here, this bit's too long. We do this for too long, and we're seeing a steady decline in the interest as this bit goes along, and then we change it and suddenly it comes back up again. So it was really interesting to get that kind of thing. But what he said to me was, you have to detach yourself from your content. You have to step back and just go, right, is this any good? And be kind of harsh. And there are times when I've put stuff out which wasn't good at all. But we don't tell each other these things. And sometimes actually, you could say, actually, that really shouldn't have gone out, or that's really bad, take it down, or whatever, because I probably would take offense, or I would feel hurt. I don't think I'd take offense, but equally, you getting honest criticism, honest feedback, is really valuable. Even on points like, where the light's coming from my windows here, so I turned around before my desk is there, but this is the point at which is probably best from a lighting perspective and all of that sort of stuff. So you have to think about those things. They're not critical, and people, if you're engaging as you, are probably more focused on, like you say, on what you're saying and who you are. Especially if they're getting to know you and becoming used to your videos. I mean, I get a lot of comment about people that haven't liked or seen or appeared to have looked at you. It's, oh, I love your videos, love this. You never like them, you know, you never put a comment. Oh, that video the other day, yeah, but you didn't say anything, you didn't. So, but you see that your reach is actually far wider than likes or comments as well.
And I was going to come on to that point because I have exactly the same. I used to do a post on a Monday because I was traveling all over the world, and I'd go, this week I boot my laptop in this country, that country, and I would get some engagement on it. But then I'd go to a physical event or networking and someone would come up to me and go, that content was great. And I would think exactly the same as you. So it's not always about the likes and the comments. You'll get people offline that see stuff and they don't know, they're more observers than engagers, but it has such that impact that you can't measure. But you just have to listen when someone says that and go, oh, okay, yeah, that was good, I'll keep doing that. Or maybe that wasn't so good, I won't do that. But it's like you say, it's looking at the numbers, being critical yourself, asking for critical feedback, but still push through if something isn't working. Like when I did my first YouTube live, I think at about 10 people, and most of them were probably social B people, where now we get like 60 and we're getting people from inside YouTube viewing, and it's still not a huge amount, but I'd much rather have people that really engage and give great feedback. Oh, wow, that was great, can you do this next time? Yeah. That's valuable. It's not doing it for the sake of doing it. You need to add value at the end of the day, because if not, it is a waste of time, isn't it?
You got to know your audience. So one of the things that we've been doing recently is a webinar called the EV Cafe, and so we did it as part of sort of a collaboration of 4 people. Basically, it sort of grew out of an idea of a guy called Johnny Berry, who thought, well, we're all locked down, what can we do? Well, why don't we do a webinar? So of course, you know, we tried it on a couple of platforms, ended up on Zoom, and then there was 4 of us. So there was Johnny Berry, myself, John Curtis, and Sarah Sloman. All have our little own industry followings in different areas, and reasonably big personalities, particularly in John Curtis's case, who's a very big personality. And there was a chemistry that worked, and you getting 200 odd people joining the EV Cafe, and over the 11 weeks we've been doing it, nearly 1,800 people have signed in and signed on and got some content. But one of the things that we stood by throughout it was for the customer. It was for the person watching, not for us. And so it was always about trying to get as many comments in and questions in, interaction. So we're always conscious of the chat box, conscious of the people that are out there, conscious of the real fans, if you like, people that were coming back every week, and making comment, really recognizing people and engaging with people. And I think that's what it is. It's about kind of really treating it as though you were in front of the thousands, but you're talking to one, and you're talking to everyone, and you're giving them something of value from you. So if you've got something to say it, but say it so that you know what you're trying to do and who you're trying to speak to. Because I think, you know, from a marketing point of view, that's what you want to do. You want to know your target audience, I guess.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I always, you know, one of my most popular sayings is wear the customer's shoes, because when you wear the customer's shoes and be helpful to them, then business will naturally come. Like, you don't have to force it on social media. It will come. We've been lucky enough to have it. And so have you in various different ways, whether it is talking at a conference, doing the EV Cafe, or getting actual business out of it. It will come, but it's not, there is no magic wand, is there, Paul? There's no magic wand that you thought, I'm going to do this today and it's going to generate business, would be my guess.
Yeah, I think that it was interesting. There's somebody that is like a superstar in terms of Instagram, and they went from 600 followers on TikTok to 71,000 in a month. I mean, they commented and posted that, was this an accident? Was it a magic wand? No, it was hours of looking at the analytics, what was liked, what wasn't, what is it. So it depends on what you're looking to achieve, of course. If that's what you're looking to achieve, that following and trying to communicate as many people as possible, you've got to be delivering that value. You've got to be looking at what is liked and not liked, what what engages and what doesn't. I mean, I put a post out this week which I thought was really interesting, but there was obviously some aspect of it that people just breezed over. Now, I'm not sure, I've got my own views on what that might be, but you've got to be a little bit forensic, I think that's possibly the word, on what you do if you really want that audience. And I look back over things, and I look back at how many likes, how many different bits and pieces. And I remember going over a period of time, and I can't remember what it was. It was the CV show, the last CV show, and over the sort of 4 days of posts, there was 40,000 views, 400, 500, 600 likes. I forget how many likes, and then how many comments. And you could kind of do the maths, and you could see that there was real engagement for that time period. But you have to then look into each one and to see what was picked up most and what was engaged upon most. Because again, your audience are the people telling you where the value is. That they're telling you what they like to hear or what's helpful for them. So, and if you miss that and you begin to deviate from that course, and coming back to Brewdog, that's what they do. That Barnard Castle IPA, or the iVision test, or whatever it is, the beer, I forgot the name of it, but they're producing some more because people are saying we want more, we want more, and that's the right response, to your customers, to your audience, is to give them more of what they want, as long as it's the right thing.
And I think, just to bring back to your point earlier that said, if someone else has come into the market and doing similar stuff to you, I think it's people buy from people. So actually, you and I could work both in the EV market, but we have different personalities. So people buy from people. So people might really gel with your content and you, because they really like your sense of humor, your personality, but they might not like mine, or vice versa. So I wouldn't be frightened, or my tip for listeners today would be, don't be frightened just because if there's someone else there, because you talked about Instagram influencers, there's hundreds of them, thousands of them. But they all have, some of them are very similar, and kids are leaving school now going, I want to be an Instagrammer or be a YouTuber, which is, I think, in one hand is quite sad. If they have a passion, then it comes across naturally. If it doesn't have a passion, then you come across really blooming dull, and you don't come across as dull in any shape or form. You have a personality. And even though I don't work in the commercial sector, I do, like you said, I work with module systems, and I have another alignment to vehicles, I still listen to you. And if someone was asking me about EV vehicles, I'll go, you need to chat to him. So linked to that, if you have a great personality and people engage with your content, then what you inadvertently get as well is you get free marketeers. And we've seen that. If you give away great content, then your content gets shared with other people. Even in personal emails, I had an email from a lady, or LinkedIn message from a lady the other day, and she said, you don't know who I am, but actually someone you did a free webinar for a couple of months ago, shared that webinar with me because they said it was really useful content for me. Well, that was free marketing. Well, I'll take that all day. I'm sure you would as well. So when you create good content, there is so much stuff that comes off that you've said, you can't measure it, but it has so many connotations. But sometimes businesses are frightened in giving away that free content. So they're like, well, it's not going to generate business. And actually, if you're a company that does professional services like us, well, that's paid, like you'd pay me for that on an hourly basis. Well, yes, you would, but how are you going to know if I'm any good? You're going to know if I'm any good, but actually if I demonstrate that I'm good by giving away hints and tips, and the same with you in a way.
No, I would agree with that. And I think you demonstrate your knowledge and the value that you add by the content that you bring. And I think it, yes, there's space for a frivolous or fun or distracting, off-piece post, and that might get some engagement, and it sort of suggests that you're human. But I think you've got to try and be true to what you deliver, and then if you're delivering value, people will appreciate it and buy it in whatever way that means to them. Yes.
Well, just to wrap up, are there any final hints and tips, or if someone was to come to you and say what would be the number one tip you would take away in terms of getting yourself on social media and starting sharing content, whether it's video or text or audio, what might be your tip, Paul, for one juicy tip giveaway?
Yeah, I think find out what you're passionate for. I think you touched on it just there. If you're passionate about something and you care about something, then that will come across, be it written, photos or video. Anything that you do that you can speak confidently and passionately about, then that will convey in whatever form of medium that you use. And I would absolutely encourage people to get help. I probably I've had help over time, but I've not used the help as much as I could have. And I think I would have been further on in that journey had I not. And that's one of the things that we're doing currently within Panorama, is to consider, how we can help each other. So, collaborate, work with others, get synergies going. And again, these have been built by accident for me over the last couple of years. With regular people commenting or engaging with posts that allow you to build the content. And what that does is amplify it, because you're into other people's networks, and so commented on this, or so liked that. And I don't know, in the social world, I don't think there's any rules. So you can connect with anybody. And if they share something with you, so I connected with a CEO of a major logistics company just a couple of days ago. And in an ordinary world, you wouldn't be able to walk up to that individual and go, hey, I hope that works for you, because we all know what's going on there, or anything like that. But in the social world, you can. And you might get some interaction. I've been amazed by some of the comments or thoughts or likes or different things that have happened as a result of just putting stuff out there. So collaborate, go for it, definitely. Work with what you're passionate and what you love and what you're confident about. Be informed. In order to be good in any social world, I think you've got to be informed and on finger on the pulse, so being aware of everything. And sometimes you need to be ahead of everybody else. So, I put a post out today, actually, and whether I think the post might have beat me to it, but they weren't necessarily, I wasn't doing it because it was there. I was doing it for my own reasons. And so, just get things out, be responsive to the market. But those would be the things, I guess.
Yeah, fantastic. And just to finish, how much time, because people go, how much time does social media take you? Roughly, how much time do you spend on social media a week, including being on there and engaging and being on there and posting, roughly?
Sometimes more than I ought to, if you ask my wife, that is. But so I think the video content is surprisingly a short period of time. I've tried to be a bit more professional recently in terms of the videos and editing and joining things up and putting maybe a bit of text in and things like that, which isn't really my style, I suppose. But I thought I'd give it a go to see what difference it would make. So that's meant a little bit more time. But what was interesting was I often got people commenting, "Oh, you spend your life on social media." Well, actually, 15 minutes a day could actually really boost your connections, and you can do a video. Well, I try and keep my videos below two maybe 3 minutes at most, because I think people are more likely to engage for that length of time, and then it's just a question of upload and put a little bit of commentary about it. Ironically, it's probably longer to get the @ and hashtags right than it is to get the video, the content in itself, because that could just be a picture or a video, which can take no time at all. So I think if you invested 15 or 20 minutes in it every day, you'd see a significant improvement in your social engagement. And if you wanted to take it seriously, I'd probably spend a bit more than that. So I spend a little bit of time in the morning. Then I may interact through the morning from time to time. I have to turn off the notifications, to be fair. And then, again in the evening, and probably, if truth be told, not long before I go to bed, but that one probably should stop, actually. But anyway, yeah, so I think 15, 20 minutes, or if you want to really invest in it and take a bit more time and do stuff maybe up to an hour a day, but that's probably a lot.
Yeah. It's I always say to people, go on social media with purpose, because if you don't, you can get easily distracted and hours can disappear down this rabbit hole. So try and be strict with yourself, because if not, it's almost like an obsession. And there's lots of people that don't go out of bed before they get into they're on social media, see what's happened overnight, and I'm like, be quite strict about it, because if not, it will start to eat into your day, and it can be detrimental to your mental health, I think, as well. So people say to me, oh, you're on social media for hours a day, and I'm like, actually I'm not. I might give that impression, but I'm not. I have a day job to do, and I do work in digital marketing, absolutely, but I'm on social media for a very little time. I'm very much like you. I do my video if it's a video, or I have these plans in sort of written in the fag bucket in my head, and I do them, and we have a bigger picture. But we don't spend that much time on social media at all. We go on with a purpose, we listen, we interact, and we then leave, because you can't be on there all day unless you're generating a huge amount of business from it. And then in which case, be on there all day, because it's the channel that works for you full time.
No, I agree with that. And it's something that can easily get out of control, and you can spend too much time in it. And, many of us have addictive personalities, and really get drawn into all kinds of things. So it's definitely worth a warning against that kind of approach to it. And I would absolutely endorse a disciplined approach where you almost specify the amount of time that you will allow yourself to do it, especially in the professional world. Social world, slightly different. You can, but again, similarly addictive and maybe destructive to one's mental health particularly. So it's a really good point you make.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your precious time today, Paul. It's been fantastic to chat to you. And like I said, it's been amazing to see your journey. And I've been watching you from afar. And as I said, I don't work in that sector, but I still find it very interesting. And your content is really engaging and personable. And again, I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but people would sometimes think it's quite a dull subject. So how do you bring it to life? But that passion and the value really, really does that. So I would definitely please everyone go and check Paul Kirby out on LinkedIn, if that's okay. Check out his content. But I hope you've enjoyed today's session. We've really enjoyed chatting to Paul, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, everyone.